Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and on today we're going to be talking about this book. Yes, When No One Is Watching is Alyssa Cole's one of her latest books, which is categorized as a thriller, which in many ways to me I feel like it was more like a horror story, but it was really good. So this is what the overview of the book says on Barnes and Noble. It says Sydney Green is a Brooklyn born and raised, but her beloved neighborhood seems to change every time she blinks. Condos are sprouting like weeds, for sale signs are popping up overnight, and neighbors she's known all her life are disappearing. To hold on to her community's past and present, Sydney channels her frustration into a walking tour and finds an unlikely and unwanted assistant in one of the new arrivals to the block, her neighbor Theo. But Sydney and Theo's deep dive into history quickly becomes a dizzying descent into paranoia and fear. Their neighbors may not have moved to the suburbs after all, and the push to revitalize the community may be more deadly than advertised. When does coincidence become conspiracy? Where do people go when gentrification pushes them out? Can Sydney and Theo trust each other or themselves long enough to find out before they too disappear? So for me, yes, it's kind of like a psychological thriller, but I personally consider it more horror, and here's why. In the story, the villain and the monster is basically gentrification, which I thought Alyssa Cole did a really good job of making it appear that way. I thought she did a really good job of creating this thing that made you feel that kind of, like I said, it just felt scary. It felt as though something was taking over, something was happening, and something was going on in this process of what we've seen all across America happening in major cities that were predominantly African American. If you have been paying attention, very close attention, anytime during Black History Month, a lot of times people will go over the idea of, or not even the idea of, the historical facts that there were very well-known Black cities that have been taken over or just completely disappear because of gentrification. For example, Central Park used to once be the space for a predominantly Black city. Don't quote me, I don't remember the name of the actual town, but I do know that that's one of the spaces. And there are several others, like right now DC has been going through gentrification. A lot of other major Black cities have been going through this overhaul of where we equate whiteness with being able to have higher property tax, and we know the history of that as well. I'm not here for a history lesson, just to tell you about this book. So I liked what Alyssa Cole did, which is she literally created the horror of gentrification into an actual thing that is scary, because it really is, because you're erasing full cultures. Sydney as a main character, I thought that she was interesting. You know, she had her flaws. There are a couple, because I listened to the audiobook of this book. There are a couple places within the audio where I got extremely angry, especially when, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't read it, just if you haven't read it, skip this part and go to the end where I tell you my overall thoughts. So there was a particular point in the book that really infuriated me, was like when the community garden had gotten like taken over by a white person. Basically, excuse me, y'all. Basically, this person created a fake deed on top of the deed that they already had, and they took over the space. The police was backing them. All kinds of things had happened, and it was just like, it's nothing you can do. It made them feel, as Black people that were still left in the community, as powerless. And it's so unfortunate, because this happens a lot too in areas where Black people who cannot afford to fight against the powers that be or whatever, capitalism, misogyny, patriarchy, all of those different things. When you can't fight against those systems to, advocate for yourself, it's a really scary thing, because it's like, those who create the law and who are also the ones who use it for their benefit. And so I felt like the book really did a really good job. Shout out to Jessica Pride, because now after reading her essay in Black Love Matters, now all I think about is, Black women being partnered in couples and relationships, interracial relationships with white men in stories. And so this is one of those examples of that type of love, where eventually the two main characters end up somehow connected. Like I said, spoilers. So if you're still watching right now, it's up to you. But I'll put a timestamp to tell you where to skip to. So I would say my overall, because I'm trying to wrap this video up, I tried my best not to make these really long. Overall, I thought the story was really well written. I thought it was really good. I felt like the ending kind of fell flat a little bit for me. I think that, it did start to pick up pace like very, very quickly, but I felt like there could have been a little bit more transition happening as we get to this climax that we've been waiting for the first 20, 21, 23 X amount chapters. I felt like there could have been a little bit more of a bang, go out with a bang, because I feel like that the author did a good job of building us up to this moment, and then when we got to the end, it was like, oh, it's over. That's just how I felt about it. But I think, once again, it's worth it. If I was a person that had to rate it, I would, and we're doing on a scale of 5, I would give it a 4.5 for sure. And 4.5 only because I felt like the ending, like I said, could have gave me more. I feel like she could have expounded a little bit on some things, or even what happens in the end. When you read the end, you will see what I'm saying. Even with what happens in the end, maybe probably trying to incorporate that somewhere in between the story and weave it in. But I do understand why she decided to wait to kind of like come up with this big boom, and you find out like, oh, okay, I got it, I get it. But yeah, so if I had to rate it, I would say 4.5 out of 5. Hope you all are enjoying these. I know I don't do these book reviews very often, but hopefully you all enjoyed this, and I will see you back here next time.